Okay, we're all set. The hour being after 7 o'clock, we can open up the capital budget meeting for August 23rd, 2022. All right. Okay.
All right. So
Hold on, guys. Are we recording this?
yeah, Walpole Media is on.
Oh, sorry. I'm
They're
sorry. I didn't see
recording.
you. Sorry. We use this at this. Never mind.
Ed, do you want to do the committee reorganization first, or do you want me to kind of give an overview?
Yep, we can do that. That's fine. So that's what we have on the agenda, right? Community organization.
Yeah.
So, yep. So, anybody want to speak?
right,
I'll remain chairman if you would like. So, whatever the case.
I would nominate Ed for chairman again.
Seconded.
Any other nominations? Okay, so I guess we'll take a vote for me as chairman. And this has to be a roll call, correct?
Yes,
That's right.
Patrick? All right, Josette?
yes,
Leah?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Noreen?
Yes,
And is David here? Oh, there's David. Your name isn't on the sheet there, David, and you're so far away, I can't see who you are there.
Yes,
welcome, David.
thanks.
Yes, okay. Okay, so did I get everybody?
Yes, you did.
Okay, and I will abstain. So,
Okay.
That'd be 601.
Yes,
Okay, so, I think last time we voted a vice chairperson also, just in case I couldn't make it. Is that correct, Patrick?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. So, is that what you, I think,
I would nominate Cheryl as vice chairman.
oh, she probably liked that because then she couldn't be secretary, right? I will second that. Okay,
Are you comfortable with that, Cheryl?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
I don't anticipate missing any meetings in the next 4 nights, so. All right, Josette, roll call
Yes.
vote. David,
Yes,
Cheryl,
Abstain.
Noreen,
yes,
Justin,
Yes.
Leah,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Okay, for secretary, volunteers. Noreen, you've been on that committee for a while.
minute taker.
Yes.
All right, I guess my name's up.
Yeah, Patrick will give you, we'll assist you quite a bit, I'm sure, so, all right, I'll nominate Noreen for secretary.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote, Josette,
yes,
David,
yes,
Cheryl,
Yes.
Noreen,
Abstain.
I'm a yes, Leah,
Yes.
and Justin.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Want to welcome Leah back for another 3-year term, and our new member, David Thornton, welcome. And I guess we'll turn it over to you, Patrick, and you'll give us the overview.
Yeah, sure. So good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another season of the Capital Budget Committee. So just a little bit of an overview of the process. So for those of you who are new, the Capital Budget Committee has the role of reviewing and assembling the capital budget before it goes to the Finance Committee and then ultimately to town meeting in the fall. Just as a recap, capital projects are generally considered physical betterments, items of equipment having a substantial useful life of 5 years and a life of total cost of $5,000 or more, and it's generally considered a non-recurring expenditure for public works projects or building projects. So just last week I sent the committee an email with the complete capital budget. So if you want, what I can do is share my screen and kind of just give you an overview of how it's organized. Just bear with me for a second. Here we go. just open this up. So this is the layout of, hopefully you found these links a little bit helpful. So it's organized by the capital summary, 5-year plan, the meeting schedule, and then all the backup from the department. So if we just take a look at the capital summary, for instance, the way we generally organize this, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself for folks that know how this is organized, but it's generally split up. You'll see the the headers for each of the articles it'll appear to town meeting. So up here you've got capital and infrastructure improvements. Article 7 is equipment. Article 8 is generally street and drainage improvements. And then water department and sewer department generally have their own articles because they're funded through an enterprise account. So up at the top here, you'll notice we've got the description for each of the requests, what the department requested, the funding source for each of them, as well as the town administrator's recommendation. And as the capital budget committee starts to take its votes, we'll fill in this column here. And then we've got the finance committee that's been scheduled for next Thursday, September 1st, when they take their votes. That'll be filled in here also. So just kind of jumping back up real quick. We also have the 5-year improvement plan. So this is something that's updated every year from each department, and that gives administration an idea and the finance department an idea of what departments are thinking in terms of their improvements and investments, at least the next 5 years. And this last column here is like an out year. So I know, like the rec department, for instance, they filled in that out year estimate. One of the items that the rec department requested last year was a master plan of its facilities, which is recommended improvements to its buildings and its facilities and the pools for the next few years. So they filled out that column. And I know, like the parks department, for instance, with all of our synthetic turf, that's something that they're mindful of also. At the end of the capital summary too, you'll notice here in this section is where we're proposing the funding come from. So for most of these, they're pretty straightforward. The one I want to point out is the free cash. So this number is certified by the Department of Revenue every August. Once the fiscal year closes, whatever that amount is that's certified, we've got policies in place as far as how much will be kept in reserves, like our stabilization account or our OPEB account. And then what's available after that becomes what's considered free cash for the capital budget. So as you're going through this, trying to figure out how we made how the town administrator made a determination of which items to fund and which ones not, it essentially becomes a balancing act of we've got these funding sources available and then prioritization of some of these requests. So over the course of the next 4 nights or so, we've got a meeting tonight with the public safety departments. Actually, that's a good point. I'll bring up the schedule. Tonight we'll be meeting with the public safety departments. Tomorrow night we'll be meeting with what we consider general government departments of Board of Assessors, Community and Economic Development, Culture and Recreation, Conservation Commission, Trails Committee. And then Tuesday, the school department and the building maintenance department will come in. Donna usually comes into the school departments because a lot of his requests have to do with the schools. And then next Wednesday, we've got the Department of Public Works coming in and all the divisions there. And that night, what we're doing is hoping to finalize the recommendations of the Capital Budget Committee. Since I sent this packet out, the meeting with the Finance Committee has actually been scheduled for the following night after the 31st. So Thursday, September 1st is when capital budget's on the agenda for the Finance Committee. So sorry, Ed, I know that doesn't give you a lot of time to prepare in terms of your notes, but I always feel like the fall town meeting schedule runs a little quicker than the spring town meeting. So it's a little bit of a sprint getting everything ready and out to the town meeting members. So if you want, I can pause there for general questions about the process or how this is laying out. And if there aren't, what we'll do is, like I mentioned, we've got a schedule of when individual departments are scheduled to come in. So tonight we've got Chief Tim Bailey from the fire department, Deputy Chief Paul Barry, and then from the police department we have Chief Rich Kelleher and Deputy Chief Rob Kilroy. So why don't I stop sharing right from here? Any questions about the process before we get started?
You did a great job on the book.
Thanks, Josette.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've got the hard copies. I think a few of you have picked them up already. I know some of you haven't. If you want the hard copies, great. We have them here. If you don't want them, that's fine too. I know some department heads might want to take a copy for themselves, so just let me know. But thanks for pointing that out, Josette.
Okay.
Um,
Patrick, just one other thing to add that, for David anyways, that we do all of our interviews and we go through the whole process and we don't vote anything until the last night so we were able
Yep.
to prioritize everything. So all of our votes will be taken on last meeting before the finance committee. And I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, that, and I just want to point out too, Ed, since you and I spoke last week, we've decided to move that last night, that Wednesday, August 31st to an in-person meeting. And I think that was based on some feedback that there's just general better discussion in person. And I think you pointed out, Ed, that if we do it in person, you don't have to take roll call votes on each of those. So, but anyway, that's it for me. And yeah, no other questions about the process. What I can do is I can turn it over to the fire department, Chief Bailey and Deputy Barry. Is that all right with you, Ed, or?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So like I mentioned, we've got Chief Bailey and Deputy Barry on. Why don't I go back to sharing my screen and I'll turn it over to you, Chief.
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you, members of the committee. Tonight I come before you for two requests. The first is for the 20 SCBA bottles and the air packs. Little explanation on those. The SCBA air bottles, which are on there, have a 15-year lifespan. We currently have 20 that are in need of replacement. What happens is they get hydrostatically tested every 5 years. At the end of 15, they're no longer able to be hydrostatically tested and then therefore no good to us. There's 20 on there for this year. They're 30-minute bottles and they go into the packs, which I'll talk about next. So that's the SCBAs is a two-part system. It's the bottle and then it's the harness, the pack, the regulator, and all the other safety equipment that's on that pack itself. So this is for 20 bottles and 5 SCBA packs. And just a couple of weeks ago, after talking to Jim, we have another 9 SCBA packs that are also in need of replacement. They're 17 years old, almost 18 years old. The packs themselves only have a 20-year lifespan. And we're going to be graduating a lot of those packs out in the next couple of years. We have another 20 packs that are 15 years old. The packs themselves currently are about $7,500 a piece, and they're all going to be needing replacement within the next couple of years. So after talking with Jim, we added some more money to this line for us. So that's what gets us to the 140,000, and we'll buy as many packs as we can. One of the issues that we've had since April is a huge increase in the packs themselves. The packs and the bottles went up 20%. The manufacturer keeps getting hit with all kinds of increases that then get passed on to us. So by us pushing this ahead of a couple of years and having a little bit of an overlap, hopefully we can save money because of these increases. We've been told there's another one coming at the end of October. So that's why we're trying to push this up a little bit. I'll answer any questions you want with the packs, or I'll do both at the same time and then ask for questions, Mr. Forsberg. Or...
All right. Well, Tim, we had, we've replaced some of these bottles in the past, right? What is the total number you have in the department?
So we have another 80 bottles that need to be replaced, but not until 2030.
Okay. So is that when you'd be coming back for more, or would be all set until then?
In 2030, we'll have to come back for the other 80 bottles, and that'll be about 100,000 at today's price.
Okay.
But that's not until 2030. We have the other packs that we're gonna have to come back within the next couple of years, 4 to 5 years, and that's another 20 packs. It's $7,500 a piece. That'll be another $150,000 expenditure. That's why we moved these 9 up a couple of years. They're all, like I said, they're almost 18. They're only good for 20. There'll be a little bit of an overlap, but hopefully we can save some money by doing it now.
Okay, great. So is that what you have? So would that be a total of 100 is what you have?
So the bottles, we're not increasing our inventory at all. We're just adding, replacing the bottles that are going out of service.
Right.
We have approximately 105 bottles that we currently have. We have 4 other bottles that are what they call rip pack bottles. They're 1-hour cylinders, but we're not replacing those at this point in time.
Okay, but I thought we had replaced some of these in the past. Did we?
We have, it's been that long. I'm going in my 18th year as chief, so
All right.
that was a while ago.
All right. Maybe there's some other bottles we replaced.
We have done the bottles, many years ago. We did do a large sum of bottles. Yes, we did.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions on the bottles? Yeah, Pat? Okay. All right, and then, all right, so if there's no questions, then there would be the replacement of the 2013 command car.
Yes, that is 2013 SUV. It's a police interceptor. We've had some problems with it. One of the biggest problems is it leaks like a sieve. We've had it repaired several times and it continues to leak. It has almost 80,000 miles on it and we're looking to replace that.
Okay, so would this be one of the captain's cars or your vehicle or which?
It will not be my vehicle. I'm looking to possibly, so right now it's the fire prevention officer's vehicle. The way we do that is we normally hand down the vehicles as we get them.
Right.
With the exception of the captain's car, and we replace that as needed. That can be replaced right now, and then I'll hand down the captain's current vehicle to the fire prevention officer, and that way they're that would be how the transition would go with that one.
Okay. All right, great.
I have a question. I'm sorry. Coming back to the bottles and the air packs, the
Yes.
sheet you showed us said 70,000 and the town administrator's recommendation is 140,000.
Right. So I had spoke with Jim. So we had some other things on the capital that I withdrew. And when I withdrew those,
Okay, they
Jim
gave you
asked
more
if-
money.
Yep, Jim asked if I had anything else that was pressing. And I mentioned to him about the possible cost savings with doing the SCBA air packs, which is a necessity that we're going to need now and possibly saving some money doing it. So he
Instead of
increased that- he
5 air
increased that and
packs,
gave me-
we're getting
Yes.
10 or something like that.
So
Nine.
on that sheet that's in front of you now with the 20 SCBA bottles, and then it just says air packs. I took off the number that was on the original, the other sheet that you have,
Okay, all right.
which
thank
had
you.
had 20 and 5.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah, Cheryl, if
Sorry
I could
about
just kind of jump in. So we ended up playing around with this before the final version went out to the capital budget committee. So I think what we did is we replaced this cover sheet here with 140.
Yeah,
Yes,
you did.
Well, I think we just forgot to replace the backup sheet. So this one should say 140,000 to match.
Yeah, no worries.
That's
I
the
just
cover
wanted
sheet
to
here.
make sure I was reading it okay. So we're
Chief,
getting the 20 bottles and then whatever the balance is, we're gonna spend on air packs. That's just what
That
I
is
know.
correct.
Thank you.
So to tag on to that, you're crossing off the 5 air packs, and instead of 9, you're just going to leave it for whatever
So
the
it'll be-
dollar value we'll be able to purchase.
I'm going to get as many as I can of those 9 with the hopes of getting all 14. The 140 will get me the 20
14.
bottles and the 14 air packs, as long as the price doesn't jump dramatically.
Okay. And your replacement on the 2013 command car, what type of a vehicle are you going for? Or
I'm
is it
looking at-
very standard?
So we've been having a problem getting some of the vehicles. So one of the things that we're looking at all the ones and how soon we can get them. We've run into some serious problems with the fire apparatuses of late. The 2 engines that we had through last capital cycle, we won't have those till next May. The ambulance, they won't even give us a time frame on because they can't get the chassis. So right now that has a 2-year lead time from when we approved it back in the spring. And that's still a 2-year time frame. And that'll change as soon as they get a chassis and I'll get an updated time frame, but they can't give me anything definitive. So that's why they've made it such a long time frame. We're afraid of that happening with some of the vehicles as well. We're also looking to change this up to a pickup truck with a cap and a back to it for more versatility as a command vehicle. So that is what we're looking to do with it. And we think we can get that fairly quickly.
So the
Josette,
dollar,
oh, sorry, if I can just jump right in, we're seeing that
Go ahead.
across, the entire fleet. So for a DPW, for instance, typically what we've done is gone with Ford Rangers. If you see some of the town vehicles, the newer town vehicles driving around town, you'll notice we put out a lot of Chevy Silverados, and it's just based on, trying to get creative with some of the vendors with the statewide contracts, seeing what's available, and, just essentially getting, trying to do what we need to do to get vehicles on the road as soon as possible. So you're seeing that with all of our departments also.
So with the command car, it could be potentially either a car or a truck, but the dollar value will be that value.
Yes, it will.
Okay, thank you.
So if there's no other questions, I just kind of sum it up by saying, so the town administrator, obviously, he's recommending the same amounts that was requested by the department in recommending the funding source from the ambulance fund. All right, if there's no other questions for the fire department, I can turn it over to Chief Kelleher. Sorry,
Give
I'm
me a
done.
second, Patrick. Chief, I just want to make a point. I was a little confused when I was looking through the backup sheets or the request sheets. And you were still using for 2023, you were using the 2022 form for the rest of them. So, but you had your data. I was a little confused when I was looking through. I said, boy, is he looking for that this year at first when I was going through the backup? You see at the top on the heading on the sheets, it says FA, Fall Town Meeting 2022 capital budget, but that's what you use that form for 2023, 2024. So it just had me confused.
Oh, Ed, that's
When I was
just
going
our
through it.
standard form for each of it. So what they do with the departments, they'll fill it out the same form for each of their requests. So we can change that if you want, kind of going forward.
No, it doesn't matter because you have the proper date underneath there anyways, but it just kind of threw me for the loop and I didn't know if it made a difference.
No, the problem was on my end, trying to download that form so that I could make it work on my workstation.
Okay,
Was
yeah,
not
yeah, okay.
user friendly for me, and I
we went with
adapted it
that.
the best. I adapted it the best I could, and I'm sorry about that.
No,
Hey, I gotta give
when
the
I was
chief-
looking through the papers and I'm saying it, and I was trying to do it on my phone anyways, and it just got confusing when I went through and it's, wait a minute, I had to keep going back, so, but no big deal.
I got to give the chief credit. You should see some of the way these forms come back to me. So I think, this looks okay in comparison to some of the other forms. I've received. I think we tried to put it in a PDF, a fillable PDF format this year, and I got all sorts of wonky responses. So we might do something like a Google form or something next year. So it's all standard. It's all kind of the same response. So no, I appreciate the chief's willingness. I know we were, playing around with some numbers and some of the forms at the last minute. So.
Okay, great. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. And is it okay if we switch things over to the police department?
Yep.
All right, so on the calls, Chief Kelleher and Deputy Chief Kilroy.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. Wait for Patrick. So the first item on our request list is the unmarked police cruiser. This will be a new addition to our fleet. Over the past several years, we've made a concerted effort to increase our staffing through our strategic plan. Part of the plan is to increase our command staff, and we've done so. We currently have the chief of police, the deputy chief, and 3 lieutenants. What we've come to find is that we currently have 3 lieutenants using 1 vehicle. As you can imagine, each of the lieutenants has responsibilities that include attending trainings, meetings, providing police services, responding to incident scenes and whatnot. And we found several times where one of the lieutenants would have a car and one of the other lieutenants would have to then scramble to find available marked unit, or if one wasn't available, even use their own personal vehicle to respond to whatever incident they were involved in at that time. So this cruiser will be an addition to our command staff fleet. This will bring us up to 4 cars. for the 5 members of the command staff. Again, this car itself it won't be a marked unit, it'll be an unmarked unit. It's set up a little bit differently. It has, emergency lighting and radios and whatnot, but it does not have the prisoner transport capabilities that a marked unit does, which increases our ability to also use it for personnel transport, multiple officers and whatnot. So.
All right, great, thank you. And this is new to the fleet. All right, any questions on the new unmarked cruiser?
Okay, great. Secondly, on our list is our taser replacement policy. So just real quick, on the summary sheet I provided, it has the wrong total cost. It has a number of 162 on it. The actual cost is down to $121,200. That form is correct, but the summary form was incorrect. The tasers we currently use are reaching end of life. The technology is about 2 generations behind the current taser systems that are in place. The request is to purchase 50 tasers, multiple batteries and cartridges, so as to replace the entire complement of tasers that we have for the department. We currently have, or will have, back up to full staff of 48 officers. So 50 will give us enough to outfit everybody and maintain several within the armory to adjust or account for maintenance or defect damage to current field issues tasers. As I mentioned, the technology has greatly surpassed where we currently are. So this will bring us up to date in regards to the latest scientific technology in regards to controlled energy weapons. These weapons, I can think of several incidents off the top of my head where having these on scene have literally saved lives. They are definitely a valuable tool in which we use. The large cost of the item is due to the fact this is a 5-year contract that we're paying upfront. If we were to break it out over 5 years, it would be approximately $24,000 a year. However, by paying upfront and bundling it through the taser package that we're doing, we will save approximately $24,000 per year rather than spacing out over the next 5 years. Again, this is a purchase of 50 units, I believe 200 taser cartridges and somewhere around 60 batteries to account for, like I said, replacement issues and whatnot.
Okay, and the ones that replace them, what was that, 2016 we bought those?
I believe it was 2017, but 2016 may be correct. Like I said, the most recent ones were purchased. The initial purchase, I believe, was in 2016. We had another purchase on the interim, but even those ones, when we made that purchase, the technology had already proceeded beyond that equipment itself. However, we made the decision to purchase those ones because they were consistent with what we were currently using, and they were still viable at that time. Right now, the current technology we use is no longer viable. Obtaining batteries and replacement cartridges has become more difficult and much more expensive because they are not in production anymore. So it has become problematic.
As a layman and not know much about the tasers, just occurred to me how much technology would have to be in it. It seems like you just pull a trigger and you get shot, right? So, but I think they do record and stuff like that. So could you explain a little bit on the technology upgrade?
So the technology, they do record every time that the taser is turned on or the trigger is depressed or a cartridge is deployed. It does maintain a record of that. The taser is then brought back to the station. It's downloaded via the software provided by the company, which can then be utilized in regards to any number of necessities, whether it's, department review, any potential legal issues, stuff like that. But it is, all the data is recorded. Every time the taser is activated, that there is a record made of that. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions on the tasers?
Just a quick one. The tasers have been around for a while, and I am rationalizing but want clarification, that everybody is trained on this, or is this part of the police training, or do you do the training in-house?
Yeah, so everybody is issued, all of our active line officers, uniform officers are issued tasers. Everybody goes through an initial training, and then it is recovered every year during our use of force, firearms, and taser trainings. It is at least yearly that we are retrained on all these things with refreshers. Everybody that comes into the station or into the department is given an initial training right out of the academy in an in-house manner. What we would have to do is we will definitely have to have a new training program instituted once the technology is replaced, due to the fact that our current technology is so far behind the curve at this point. So it would be an undertaking to retrain the entire department, and it will be necessary, but that is something that we will accomplish.
Thank you. My other question is on the budget paper. You have it down for $121,200, and the town administrator has it down as $121,500. So is there something that $300 has to be used for, or is that to access more tasers?
No, I'm not entirely sure. The quote that we're using is $121,166. So our request was for the 121,200. I'm
Correct.
not sure what the additional $300 was for. So I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Josette, that may have just been a
typo?
Yeah, or not a typo, because the free cash ties out, so it might have been
Yeah.
the misglance of what that number was. So if it's something where, if the police department is looking for the 121,200, we've got kind of $300 that could be allocated elsewhere. We can kind of keep that in the back of our minds if you want, Josette, for an area that might be where that $300 might be a little bit more impactful. So,
Thank you.
yep. All right, why don't I bring back the rest of the police department requests, Deputy?
The next item on our request list is the addition of portable radios and assorted equipment. As I mentioned before, the strategic plan of the department has increased the department size. We are currently, or will be, at our full complement of 48 uniform officers. We have utilized all but 2 of the portable radios we have on hand. So we have nothing in regards to the availability of providing officers with replacement radios if there's damage or maintenance is needed, or the ability to provide out of jurisdiction officers with communications if they were to work with us in regards to a task force or details or something along those lines. We have no ability to we have nothing in the armory standing by. In addition to that, we've also utilized all of the initial radio batteries that have been issued. As you know, batteries have a kind of a shelf life. We've kind of reached the point where even our spare batteries are starting to fail, and we've issued all those. We no longer have any spare batteries pending the ability to be issued to anybody who has a failure of any sort. So we are requesting additional funds to purchase more radios and battery units.
So, Rob, any question? So it doesn't say how many radios you were actually looking to replace on the request here, right?
Yes.
And then
No,
the
it
quote,
doesn't.
so is that quote for the $4,159, is that for just one, and then you get as many?
Yeah, so the plan was the quoted for 4,100 is per radio. So we were going to use the funds to purchase as many radios as we could, and then use the remaining funds to begin purchasing additional batteries to kind of build up our stock again. We don't have a quote on the batteries right now. I've got 2 different vendors, and I've had actually I located a third one. So we had a kind of a discrepancy in regards to cost. So we were going to purchase as many radios as we could, and then use the offsetting funds to start purchasing battery units.
So,
I believe each one comes with a battery, but obviously the units we have in the field right now need additional batteries due to the failures of the ones we have on hand.
okay, so how many batteries do you have in total in the department? I mean, the
Radios.
Radios, I believe we have 48 radios right now. Give me 1 second. We currently have 2 spares, according to the information I had. So that would put us at approximately 50.
Okay. So, so how many do you think you could get for the 4,100 there?
I was thinking, my initial thought process was probably pick up 5 radios. That would put us somewhere around 20,000, 21,000, and would give us another $4,000 for the purchase of batteries. Judging by the best quote that I got out of those, that would give us enough for approximately 30 to 35 batteries. So it would be enough to issue at least several of them out to the most desperate people, and then add to our stock for guys that continue to fail.
Okay.
And the time element on the batteries with the radios?
Batteries, I was able to secure pretty fairly quickly. I think through the most recent vendor I was using, we secured 10 batteries within a week.
Great.
And we have them in the field. They're being field tested now. They're an aftermarket producer. So we wanted to make sure we got some good field testing in before we committed to wholesale, stocking through them. And they were the best price by far too. So.
And the lifetime on your radios in general?
That is a good question. I'm not entirely sure. They last for quite a while though.
Do you think like maybe a 5-year period?
Oh no, it's
or
well
longer?
beyond that. Yeah, the radios themselves are fairly sturdy. They can be in the field for quite a while. Like I said, the part that's really starting to fail, at least technology wise, is the batteries themselves. They obviously have a shelf life, and they're getting to the point where they need to be constantly recharged to maintain a functionality that we need out in the field.
Thank you.
Our current radios are in pretty good shape right now. It's just a matter of getting extra ones for the increase in the staff, because right now we just don't have any more left. So that was more of the issue, is more just making sure we had enough for everybody else as we were going forward, because we just were running out as we're replacing people.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. All right, so actually these will be adding to the total number of radios in the department?
Yes, that is correct. That would this would increase the number we have in order to outfit any additional staff, as well as maintain a fallback in the event that a radio is damaged and needs maintenance, or has to come out of the field for any reason. We would have spares.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions?
Okay.
All right, next.
The next item on our request list is funding to begin the replacement of our information technology system. Much like the external defibrillators that I'm going to discuss in a minute, we've come to the conclusion that replacing our computer network on an ongoing rotation will be beneficial to the department and the town in regards to smaller, more frequent purchases rather than a one-time large purchase that extend a higher price. The technology system we have was in place when the department was built. However, the equipment was actually purchased several years beforehand. So all of our computers and servers and whatnot are beginning to push, not end of life, but they're definitely getting older. We're coming up on 6, 7, 8 years old now. And obviously in regards to technology, that stuff, it's pretty much obsolete by the time it ships. So what we're looking to do is develop a rotation so that we are constantly replacing units rather than waiting for wholesale failure of the entire system. So we would be making more frequent, smaller purchases rather than a one-time purchase.
Makes sense.
I I have a comment. I would like to compliment Lieutenant Zangetti for his letter explaining what was going on. Myself and others have been on for a while, but so much goes on. It was nice to have the review of what has transpired and why you're in the situation that you are in with this.
Yes,
He's very thorough. I thought the same thing.
Yes, he's an excellent resource. He actually was involved in the entire development of the system. So he's very well versed in what we need and how to best move forward.
Chief,
Kudos.
this is for the hardware. Do you have IT staff as part of the town or in your department that will configure and connect these to the network?
Yes, so this is all hardware. The IT system or the IT consultants that we're using are currently, we outsource to a company called Delphi that's funded through some 911 grant information and stuff like that. It's outside of the department. It's not the town IT's department that does it. We have our own consultants that come in and are very well versed in law enforcement networks.
So you have a current BAU contract with them and they'll configure this equipment for you?
Yes,
Okay,
they'll
thank
handle
you.
everything for us.
Okay.
That's great. There's no more questions. The AED replacements.
This is a continuation of our current program, just as like I mentioned, in regards to developing a rotation with the computer network system. We already have a rotation in place for the AED system. So we are looking to replace the next 5 out of that unit. Several of them are reaching the end of their warranty periods. And obviously we want to make sure that these items are current and up to date in regards to technology and having them in the field. Obviously, these are life-saving tools that have been used more times than I can count. And they're critical pieces of equipment to maintain and to make sure that the technology is up to date and that they are ready to go on a daily basis.
So I kind of had a question on the AEDs and even the tasers. So what happens to the used ones? Are they traded in or can they be handed down to somebody else, or are they worth anything?
So the tasers, there is definitely going to be a trade-in for those. It's not an astronomical amount, but it is a little bit. What we do have will be traded back into the company. The AEDs are not traded back in. Once they kind of reach end of life, there's really, you don't want to put something out in the field that's not, especially in a line like such as life-saving equipment that may not be completely up to par. So no, there's really no trade-in value for those that I'm aware of. So right now they just they go back. They believe we maintain a couple of them just for an emergency, but for a majority of them they go back to they're disposed of.
Do they record? Are they self-recorded, like how many times you use them and to what
Yes.
extent or whatever?
Yes. In addition, similar to the tasers, they have internal recording mechanisms. So every time they are taken out, I believe every time they're activated, that makes a notation. And in addition to that, the fire department may be able to speak to this better than I can. But as soon as they're connected, it actually makes a record of the medical condition, if you will, of the patient involved in regards to heartbeat and rhythms and whatnot. So it does make recordings of those items too, that are then, like I said, downloaded and available for use by medical staff if necessary.
Great. But all right, so I did notice on your request sheet on paragraph 4 there, it says the end of their warranty period. Do you mean maybe it's at the end of their life cycle or expected life cycle, or you just don't want to keep them after they're out of warranty?
Well, I mean, once they're out of warranty, obviously it makes it more difficult in regards to maintenance. The units themselves, we probably could extend their life. We begin running into battery issues with those also. But it is one of those things where we want to make sure we keep up with the current technology. Obviously, something that was purchased 5 years ago is going to be behind the curve at this point. But yeah, so they are more or less reaching the end of their warranty period, but they are reaching a point where the technology is now becoming older also.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions on the AED? Okay, we can move on next to the simulation training.
Okay, so the next request is in regards to Simunition training equipment. Essentially, this is equipment that would be used to conduct use of force training, which is one of the highest liability training or issues within law enforcement. This would allow us to conduct realistic training in a manner and such that would increase the skills and knowledge of our staff. The request itself is for multiple what they call Simunition firearms, which is a firearm that's been modified to shoot. They're like soap cartridges. It's almost like paintball, advanced paintball. They will have a oops, sorry about that. It'll create a situation where we can conduct more realistic training, whereas use of force situations or lack of use of force, or the ability not to, are very difficult to simulate without the proper equipment. The equipment would allow us to, like I said, increase the skill set of our officers and their confidence in their ability to evaluate situations and evaluate the decision making on in a potential life-threatening situation without having as well as possible. Didn't really explain that very well. I apologize, that wasn't explained very well.
In light of all that's been going on around the country, especially in Uvalde, Texas, and other places, we thought our use of force instructors, some of them were members of the Metro SWAT team, had come to us and said, this would be a good idea to get this equipment on board so we could train our own officers. We have several officers in-house that are able to conduct this training for us, so we don't have to outsource to anybody else. They can come in and do it right for us. We've used, town buildings in the past when they've been vacated, like for the schools in the off season, to conduct this training in-house, so that way we can make sure our officers are ready to go when the unthinkable happens. And that's really the idea behind this request, is to make that training in-house so we can do it whenever we feel necessary, when we have the ability to do so, and we can do it completely in-house with our own officers. So again, the climate's changing out there. After we came back from COVID, things were starting to get, again, the gun violence was increasing, and we didn't like the direction it was going in, especially when things were happening in schools. So this purchase here would allow us to do that training to make sure we're all on the same page. We've trained together, and again, the training is more realistic, and we're ready to go when, unfortunately, something like that will occur.
I commend you for taking up the sword to do this. Would this hypothetically, I know this will be new coming in as far as scheduling, would this be something that would be done on a monthly or weekly process, or have you not gotten to that point of deciding how you would be using?
We haven't really got to the exact timing on how that would work. It would probably be more on a quarterly or even longer basis, just because of overtime purposes and getting everybody together. But we just want to make sure we can do it when we have the ability to do so, not wait on a vendor to come in and have to pay them or do something along those lines. It was more just to have the ability to be self-contained in our own training and be ready to go. So how it's been going to work out exactly hasn't been completely ironed out right now, but we just want to make sure we can have the equipment necessary to make sure that we're ready to go.
And how many people would be able to take part in a training session? Is it limited by the amount of equipment that you are purchasing at this point, or not?
So, I believe that the request is to purchase 4 weapons or 4 simulation pistols and equipment like that. So it would be kind of limited depending on what the scenario was and what the avenues of the training objectives were. Which, I mean, to be honest, we have 3, 4, 5 officers on the road at a time. So we'd be training, as like we work, you train like you work. So it would be unrealistic to really have, 15 guys in a training scenario, depending on what we were working on. So this would allow us to at least work within shifts, small groups of officers who work together on a constant basis.
Okay, thank you for the
Almost
clarification.
looks like, excuse me, you all set, Josette?
Yes, thank you.
It almost looks like you have a setup for 10. It looks like 10 of the Smith & Wesson guns, and then 10 helmets, 10 throw protectors, and 10 groin protectors. So you could probably outfit 10 people at a time. Is that what
So-
I'm looking at?
I'm looking at the quote I got now. We have 10 helmets, throat protectors, groin protectors.
It looks like the guns were $749 each. and-
Oh, I apologize. You're right. I looked at the wrong form. It looks so, yeah. So there would be 10 of the handguns, the handgun models, and 5 of the patrol rifle models. There was a second sheet I didn't see. So you are correct. There is 10 of the handgun models.
So it looks like you could outfit 10 officers at one time in
Yes.
training.
Yep, that's what it appears.
Well, it seems like short money to train them and prevent any repercussions down the line, huh?
Mhm. Yes, we believe it to be very valuable training and equipment.
Any
Yeah,
other questions?
Yeah, sorry, do you mind if I just jump in, Ed? Yeah, so I mean, I think this type of munitions and these exercises, they're absolutely critical. As a former infantryman myself, we did this stuff all the time. It's in terms of the numbers we're talking here, it's kind of like a practice like you play type situation. There's not a lot of instances where they need to have 10, 15 officers stacked up. They're going to be mostly likely training in the scenarios they deal with on a more day-to-day basis, smaller group type stuff. But I'm glad that we're getting this type of equipment. We need to, this is really important to stay up on the training.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Agreed. Right, any other questions? Okay, and next would be the unmarked cruiser.
No, the next will be a marked cruiser. So
Oh, I'm sorry, marked cruiser. I'm sorry.
Okay. So we're looking to replace a current line unit. We'll be replacing one of our cruisers that currently has approximately 93,000 miles on it. The funding requested would be to outfit a new cruiser to replace transfer some of the existing emergency equipment into that. Obviously, we need to maintain our line fleet where it's out on the road all the day. In addition to various other training and detail assignments. We currently have, I believe, 10 marked units out in the field, and this will just replace the oldest one. One of the units will be maintained and switched into a detail car. So I believe this will be replacing that actual unit, which is the oldest one we have in the fleet right now.
Are you going to be able to transfer the lights and the computer and all the excess that goes on your vehicle from
believe
the old one?
The quote has a new lighting package. The radio itself should be transferred over, and I believe the MDT unit will be transferred over also. But the quote itself has new lighting package. The technology on that continues to evolve also. So that was quoted as new. The additional information, equipment that's in the car now will be transferred over, I believe.
Thank you. My printout was such that it was unreadable. That's why I asked.
I
Yeah, it was a
apologize.
little tough.
No problem.
So the cruiser this is replacing, is that traded in, and is the trade-in deducted off of this price here? So the cruiser would actually be more money than the 58, or?
I believe it would be a little bit less. It depends on what we get in regards to the cruiser. We had success last year in obtaining quite a bit for the trade-in that we got, but obviously it's a variable that kind of depends on the market. So this is going to be a trade-in, so there would be a reduction in the price, I believe.
Right, and okay, it was explained to me a little bit that most of the time in the past, these marked cruisers were replaced under your regular operating budget, but to make your operating budget work this year, that it was decided to take this cruiser here from free cash. So
Yes.
anybody had a question, because I know most of the, the older members knew that we replaced these, or they were replaced, the my cruisers were replaced under the operating budget.
Yes, in the past, we've replaced them out of the operating budget, but this year we are attempting to slide them over to capital to kind of ease the burden.
All right, good.
Yeah, and then if I could just kind of jump in, so your observation is spot on. So normally these are part of the operating budget to get the budget balance and essentially make the operating budget work. These have been reduced from the operating budget and moved over to capital budget where these are part of the equipment of the police department. We know that these are going to continue to be replaced in a program. They're the one-time expenditure. So that's why although it appears to be more cruisers than what the police department usually gets, it's because of we're moving it into the capital budget where other equipment is purchased. So
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions on the fully marked cruiser? All right, now we can go to the unmarked cruiser, I guess.
Yes, so the final request is for an unmarked police cruiser. This again will replace one of our current line vehicles. The current plan is to replace a cruiser that is approximately 9 years old with about 81,000 miles on it. We are investigating replacing this with a non-traditional soft car so that it can be utilized for an additional mission, such as undercover operations with a detectives unit and whatnot. So we don't have an exact make or model as to what would be purchased at this point, because we're trying to still kind of evaluate what the best options are in regards to having, like I said, a multi-mission type of vehicle that we can utilize for multiple functions, basically. Again, this is going to be replacing a current line unit, which will also have a trade-in value. And again, depending on what the value is, will kind of affect the final cost of the vehicle.
Well, I think also in the past that we didn't list the make and model of whatever because it would be public record and anybody could look up in the town records and see what you were using for an unmarked vehicle.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
So none of us will know what it is. Okay. Any questions on that or anything else that we had tonight? Justin?
Just one question. Does this unmarked vehicle get used in any like routine stuff, or is like traffic enforcement, or is it only like strictly for those other types of missions you're outlining?
No, it'll be outlined. So it'll have emergency lighting. It'll have emergency radios and stuff. So it can be utilized for some basic police functions. It could be used potentially for traffic and whatnot. If it's not its primary mission. The primary mission is more of a investigative car and for not everyday police functions, but it is possible that it could be used for some varying forms of our mission.
So would this be like a captain's car that they may transport personnel or prisoners or whatever, or even back and forth to court or whatever?
Yeah. Yes, that is possible. It's one of the things that it could be used for. Yes.
Right. Okay. Okay, Justin, you all set on that? Okay. Any other questions? Great.
And if I could just kind of jump in, so just to kind of summarize, so with each of these requests, the town administrator is recommending the amount that has been requested, except for that $300 discrepancy that Josette pointed out. Nice job, Josette. Just a quiz to see if you're paying attention.
Okay.
So funding source for that is free cash. And I would just point out, since the last time the capital budget met, I think Chief Gallagher was acting chief at the time and Deputy Kilroy was lieutenant. So I just want to recognize that these two gentlemen have both been promoted to chief and deputy, and they've got new Lieutenant Brian Becker and the command staff also, as well as kind of the domino effect among sergeants and patrolmen. So just want to recognize these guys in their new positions and the outstanding work that they're doing. as chief and deputy chief. So,
Absolutely. Welcome and thank you. Good presentation by you all tonight. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thanks.
so if there's no other questions for the police department, I think we're all set as far as the presentations for tonight. The only other two items on the agenda were the minutes from March 22nd. If you remember, that was the meeting that we had. We considered the request for town meeting for the ambulance from the ambulance account, so we can get that order placed. And then, we reviewed the schedule at the beginning. So if you want, I don't know if you want me to pull up the minutes, if anybody had any.
Yes, I think so.
Revisions.
That would be good. Appreciate that.
Here we go. Took me a second. Share screen. Here we go. So these are the meeting minutes from March 22nd. And if there's no revisions, feel free to make a motion or.
I'll make, it looks good to me from what I can remember back to March, but it looks, I keep trying to scroll this down, Patrick, and I can't do it. Nothing
Oh, I'll
else.
scroll, I can
That's
scroll,
good,
I'll
right.
scroll down. There you go.
Yeah. Thank you.
There's a typo on my name
Uh,
on the motion to
yeah,
adjourn.
Cannon.
Cannon.
And, okay,
Yeah.
we'll get that changed.
And actually in mine also, because my middle initial was C, my father was J, I am C, so.
I don't think that's the first time this has happened, Ed,
Yeah.
right?
No, I know it. It's happened in the past.
Interesting.
All right, we'll get that fixed up too. All right.
But otherwise, everything looks good. So I will make a motion to accept the minutes for, gotta scroll down a little bit more. I can't see the date.
March 22nd.
March 22nd, 2022. With,
Second, with
correct-
the
with correct-
adjustments that
Yeah.
were mentioned.
Okay, all right, all in favor? Josette,
Aye.
Yes,
Joe?
Yes.
I am a yes. Leah, were you present for that?
Yes, and yes.
Okay. Yeah, and Noreen,
Yes.
Justin,
I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't at that meeting.
okay, and David?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. So it would be 502 in favor of accepting the minutes.
Right, so we'll make those changes and actually, I'll just bring up the packet again. Just go over the schedule again real quick. Get too many screens going here. All right, so just to review the schedule again, so tomorrow night's meeting will be at 6 o'clock, also through Zoom. So we just get the general government departments, the Board of Assessors has a request. Community and Economic Development, that's Community Economic Development Director Pat DeShanes will be in to talk about some of the programs he's considering for the downtown. Culture and Recreation, that's the Recreation Department and the 300th Committee, 300th Anniversary Committee. They've got a few requests for tomorrow, as well as the Conservation Commission, and then Gary Riggett from the Trails Committee will also be on. So the rest of the meetings, again, will just be at 6 o'clock, and just again, reminder that last meeting, I gotta send around I think I sent it in an email. The last one will be in person. So there's no other questions or comments on anything. I can see
Hey,
you guys.
Patrick.
Yep.
Would you forward me the minutes? Just I'll follow that standard template.
Yeah, if you want, Noreen, I was going to reach out to you after the meeting too.
Okay.
I believe Kevin in our office, you will probably be able to help out as far as drafting a first draft, and he can send them for you to review before we give them to the rest of the committee.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's Leah. So just quickly, that last meeting on the 1st, I will not be able to attend. I'm flying to Alaska.
Oh,
Oh.
Good luck. I
Nice
just got back a
trip.
couple of months ago, so
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've never been, so I'm looking forward to it.
it was
Fun.
great. Okay, so I would accept the meeting, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor? Josette,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Noreen,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So 7-0. Okay, thank you all. See
Thank you,
tomorrow
everybody.
night.
see you tomorrow night.
Thank
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Okay, good night.